Welcome to the Strategic Growth Experts podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Taracco. I'm a business consultant, digital marketing expert, and real estate investor. And this podcast is meant to inspire you, educate you, and help you access your highest potential. Subscribe to the Strategic Growth Experts podcast on iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter, and check out the website at strategicgrowthexperts.com.
Welcome to the Strategic Growth Experts podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Taracco. Today I have a special guest, chairman and co-founder of Icelandic Glacial Water, Yann Olufsen. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me on your program. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Well, it's a fantastic honor as well to interview someone such as yourself. Icelandic Glacial Water, I've been seeing it everywhere. I've drank it before. It's great water. I've talked about in some previous episodes, too, some of the intelligence behind water and why not all water is created equal. What kind of things can you tell me about the water itself?
Well, we're very fortunate to come from a country that has more water than you can imagine. Just to give you an idea that our water is rain, snow that falls from the mountain. It filters through the lava mountains for up to 600 years when it goes to an underground river that flows under our land. And the amount of water that flows to ocean from that source is twice the world consumption of water in bottles. So it's a lot of water.
Wow, so you guys have a large, sustainable access to this water.
It's a very sustainable source, yeah. And I sometimes joke and say my friends will never go thirsty because we have a lot of water. But the other thing which is more important is that the quality of the water. It is very, as you know, Iceland is probably the youngest island on the planet, about 4.5 times younger than, for example, the Alps. So our rocks and our landscape is all very young and not so hard. So the minerals contents in our rocks are very low compared, like I said before, for the Alps. When you have Avian, which has TDS of 381, we're only at 62. So it's very pure and very clean, the water. And we do nothing to the water. It comes as it is from the source into the factory, and outside air doesn't come to the water until you open up the bottle. So it's really, really high in pH also. pH is about 8.4. It comes from the source up to 9 in pH, but we only put 8.4 in the bottle because we want to be sure that it never goes below that. And I don't think there's many other companies out there that has that kind of quality water to offer to the public.
Definitely, most people don't know the difference, that there's a very distinct difference between bottled water that's being purified and filtered at municipal sources versus actual spring water and obviously distilled water. Again, there's a big difference between those types of waters, and I do recommend to anyone listening to find a documentary called Water, the Great Mystery, because it brings up so many different aspects of water that science is just beginning to understand, such as structure and its ability to hold biophotonic energy and different things that are really unique. So regarding your pH, what is why is pH important for drinking water?
Well, we consume a lot of products which are alkaline, and some of them products are acidic. I think the ratio should be about 80% alkaline should be going into our body and 20% acidic. But in reality, it is the other way around. We tend to consume much more acidic products like coffee, alcohol, even cola or polo, and any others. All these beverages are very low in pH, and your blood is about 7 pH. So the body has to work very hard to bring whatever you consume up to the 7 level. And that is probably one of the toughest things that the body has to do, to maintain the high pH level, to have the body in good balance. A lot of people go and actually have their self tested. What is the pH level? Most of them will see that they're somewhere in the area of 5.5 to 6. And people need to drink alkaline water to bring themselves to the 7 level. And that is when the body is really at its best. Because cancer or all the other diseases, they live very nicely in a body which is very acidic. If you're very alkaline, those diseases don't find their way into your body. So it's a very, very important thing to think about, that you should not just drink water because it's water. You try to drink water which is high in alkaline, but it has to be coming from the nature with high alkaline or high pH, but not have somebody put in some other stuff to bring up the pH. Like a lot of these waters which are out there with the high pH, like some of them have 9 or 9.5, they put into it chemicals to bring it up to that. So something like baking soda is put in to bring it up.
So it's a natural pH that's coming from the earth as it's traveling on the 600-mile journey through the rocks and properly filtered and through nature, and really as nature intended it to be. My question then is, you guys found this amazing product, the water, and you decided to bottle it, start the company. So how did you actually start the company and begin building with your distribution? I know you guys have distribution in Whole Foods and Sprouts and some of these really big retailers, Walgreens. So how did you start the business, and then how did you really build it to where you are now?
In the beginning, it was never our plan to go into this business. It was back in 2003. I had a lot of businesses in Iceland, and so did my son. And we sold everything in 2003, November 2003. At the same time, he was the broker for an airplane for one of the airlines here in Iceland. And the owner of the airplane was a Saudi, and he asked him to go and find a water company so they could go into the water business. So he went out and looked around and found a white labeling water company in a liquidation. And he spoke to the liquidator, and he was accepting bids, put in a bid, won the bid, called the Saudi, said, "Hey, look, you've got a water company. It's all yours now." But the Saudi never paid. So at the same time, like I said before, we sold all the companies. I thought I was going to retire. And that was November 2003. In April 2004, I was getting very nervous because I had nothing to do, and I was really not feeling and enjoyed not having enough challenges in my life. So we decided to sit down and look at the water company and see if we could make something out of it. And that's how it all came together, that we decided to go into this business and try to do the best we could with this water and bring it to the world. We started in the States, and why the States? Because when we looked at the whole market space at the time, 50% of all value for water was coming out of the United States, and 50% was coming out of the rest of the world. But only 20% of the water being consumed worldwide was being consumed in the States, and the rest was in the rest of the world. So you can see the margins were the highest in the world out of the States. So we decided to go in there and try to do this ourselves. And we have been in there just over a year when we knocked on the door with Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, and we asked them to partner up with us and do our distribution. And actually they liked it so much, everything, our story, the product, and the packaging, that they decided to give us a test immediately. And within a year, we had them as shareholders and our market distributors in the United States.
When did you start the business, and how long did it take you to build it to where you are?
Well, we started the business we sat down with other people to hire people and try to put it into motion in June 2004. So it's been now 11 years that we have been out there building this brand, and we've gone through a lot of difficult times. And we had this big recession after the Lehman Brothers and all the crash in Iceland. That was a huge challenge for us. And then, of course, was also a challenge for us when Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, was taken over by Embark. That took some time to finalize, and so a lot of people who were there when we did the deal are not there anymore. So we have very good people now that we're working with, and we're very pleased with the partnership we have with Budweiser.
So 11 years, that's a pretty significant amount of time, and then where I see you guys at today, it's a pretty prevalent product. I see it pretty much in any grocery store, at a lot of like gas stations, you guys have pretty big distribution. So how do you manage the company with a product that goes out on this scale? So how are you managing the scale that you're currently at?
Well, we have a very good team in the United States. I have a CEO there, Reza Mesa. He's really capable. He comes from Nestle family. He was running the portfolio of waters for Nestle at some point. And he's been with us now almost 2 years. and he has done a really, really great job for us. So we are moving in the right direction, and the company is growing, right now growing in high-digit numbers. So we're seeing things fly more now than ever before. And on about availability, we're also almost available in almost every airport in the United States. So we're really, really now widely available in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. So what are some of the things what were you doing before you started the business, and then what were some of the things that drove you to pursue this?
Well, I started very young in the music industry, and I moved from there on. The company I started was back in '76. It was a music company that became recording studios and distribution and production company for music. And then we moved into films. And in the music field, we were representing all the major companies like RCA, Sony, Warner Brothers, Universal. Everybody was with us. We did everybody in Iceland. And then we started going to the movie industry, and we built cinemas, and we were representing 20th Century Fox and Columbia, and some of the independents like Miramax. That grew to be really, really big, and then we went into the gaming. We launched PlayStation in Iceland with 85% market share immediately, so that was a huge success. From there, I went into radio. I started the first independent radio station in Iceland back in '86, and there was another station that went live in television at the time. This is when the monopoly of the state-operated television radio was lifted. So I started the radio. Another guy started with television, but he had problems. So in January 1990, we stepped in and took over the TV station, and then we merged two companies in '92. And so I built that operation until 2003 when I sold everything. In the meantime, we also got involved in the first mobile company in Iceland. So we created the first radio, first television, and first mobile company. But all the time, my competitors was the state-operated companies doing the same thing.
So you're a very seasoned entrepreneur going into this current company. You have a lot of experience in kind of the media side, pretty broad background.
You could say that. I've always been working with consumers from day one, so I understand that space pretty well.
Did you study business, or how did you really get started as an entrepreneur?
I was born in a very small town in Iceland, Keflavik. I lived with my grandparents until my grandfather died, and when I was 14, that's when I started making my own life. And I dropped out of school when I was 16 because I was making more money than most people, and then in the music industry. But I did go back to school when I was 40. I went to Harvard for a little bit when I was 40 years old. But I did that only to further educate myself in the fields I was working on. I'm a self-made man. I came from nothing to where I am today, and probably I was the first self-made man in Iceland. Everybody before me were born from the big families in this country.
That's incredible. You have a backlog of knowledge then in being an entrepreneur and building a business that most people, the kind of experience that most people dream of getting in a lifetime.
Yeah, you could say that, but at the same time, my son was running the operation in the States until we hired our CEO, and he was doing a great job doing that, and he had never been involved in anything like this. So he went to another country, just moved to the States and took this on, and he had to learn the industry the hard way. And maybe that's one of the things that we did. We did it our way. We did it without hiring anybody from the industry until we did it 2 years ago, and we hired Mr. Mesa to come in as our CEO for the States. So we did it, we learned it the hard way. We didn't have industry experts coming in and helping us to do this.
Really building it organically. You're not hiring things out. You're not raising money. You're not doing all these things to really put yourself in a position of debt or anything. You really started the company and you were grinding it out. You went out and made your connections and set your distribution up. And today, you guys are almost everywhere.
Yeah, the thing is, we've been there now, like I said, 11 years, but it cost a lot of money. We've invested over $130 million into this company. So it's a long road, and it's very costly to build a brand like this.
From my experience, it is a great water, too. And no water is created equal. That there's a lot of different properties to water that make it so interesting. All good spring water is filtered through the earth in some way.
So I think one of the things that really makes a difference for us, or separates from us from all the other water companies. Over 5 years ago, Christian Dior, the cosmetic company from France, came to us and said, look, we analyzed over 300 brands worldwide. We came to the conclusion that your water is not only the best water, it's way better than anything else. They're now producing a cosmetic line called Dior Snow with our water. And on every package, you will see, on front of the package, you will say, made with Icelandic Glacial Water. No other water company has anything close to this as we do.
That's huge. You're basically breaking in the fashion industry because there's something behind your water that a lot of people don't understand. They just know that there's some value to it. And that's why I mentioned that documentary earlier about Water, the Great Mystery, where they do comprehensive studies about water and what makes real water different from purified water or municipal sources. And the real difference comes in, there's water structure, there's biophotonic energy and energetics in the water that cannot necessarily be recreated unless it's coming from a pure source like this. And so I think people inherently know that there's a difference between different types of water.
Think about it. If you're out there hiking or doing some activity out there and you don't drink water, if your water level in your body goes down by 8%, you will lose your conscience. If it goes down by 12%, you will die. So the level for those 8% before you lose your conscience, that's all energy. So some people, when people wake up in the morning, they're feeling kind of under the wagon, and they don't understand why. All they got to do is maybe drink 1 liter of water, and they will feel much better in about 15 minutes. But people don't really put their minds to think about what is it that's really is wrong with me now. What is it that a body is calling for? What does it need? It needs water. And if you can't be drinking water, you should be drinking Icelandic Glacial Water. And I tell people, if you want to live young to the day you die, you drink my water, because that's going to be good for you.
Right, and I think there's a distinction, too, behind why your water is better than any water, because it has a natural structure. It's filtered through the earth. It has bioenergetic properties and minerals that other water doesn't have.
That's true. Absolutely true.
And I think that's really the value that I see in spring water, especially water like this, where in different parts of the world you don't always have access to direct spring water. Here we have municipal water, and you can filter it, and it's dead water. It's just purified. It's not the same. It's water coming from a closed loop system. It's not the same as water coming from a natural source. There's a big difference.
You cannot purify it completely. There are things in the water that you cannot purify, and one of the things that people will find in those waters is prescription drugs. I've read some articles about that people have, when they've done some analysis of the tap water, they will find traces of prescription drugs, and the main drugs that there are birth control pills, Prozac and Viagra. So this is what goes into the recycled water, and they can't take it out.
Yeah, wow. And that's and then there's other things too, like the chemical processing and everything that goes into it. So you can purify it, and you may have drinkable water, but like you said, you can't take out all the chlorine, you can't take out all some of these other compounds, and then there's a whole other aspect to water structure and the ability for that water to hydrate your body because it functions differently.
Absolutely right. We have a lot of comments from consumers around the world, and of course, a lot of these statements that they will come up with is something we can't use. We can't talk about it because we can't claim that the water is this way or that way because you have to be able to prove that. But I've had customers come to me and talk about that they had allergies, and after drinking the water for 2 years, those allergies just gone away. I've heard about a woman in Singapore that has a tumor, and a cancer tumor, and she had started drinking the water, and the tumor stopped growing, and eventually it started shrinking. So there are things out there happening Can I say that it's because of Icelandic Glacial Water? I can't say that. But it's obviously high pH water will help your body overcome obstacles they have when you are sick or have been unfortunate to come down with bad diseases like cancer or anything like that.
Right, yeah, right. What you can say is what's scientifically provable behind your water, which is your pH level, how it's filtered, the source, and if you were to get into something like Kirlian photography or you were able to measure the bioenergetics in some way, that would be some other aspect of scientific value that you can say, hey, we did these studies and this is what it shows. And, it's up to people to make up their own minds whether or not having their body in an alkaline environment is important to them, but because I think it's commonly known, at least in kind of the health and fitness circles, that being in an alkaline state is usually more beneficial for sustaining health.
You're absolutely right, but it's very difficult for a water company to come out with some kind of statements. We need to be very careful, especially in your country, that people have different views on how things are done there. But for us, we're out there with a very good product, beautiful packaging, and the quality of the water is next to none. And we know, because people have been talking to us, that this water has done good things for them. And I think anybody who is drinking just normal water today or purified water, when they start drinking water like ours, Icelandic Glacial Water, if they drink it like for 3 weeks, 2-3 liters a day for 3 weeks, it will be like going into the garage to do a oil change to your car. You will renew your liquid level in your body, which should bring up your pH level and make you feel much, much stronger and energetic and better about yourself.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, you've started this incredible company. I appreciate you taking the time to be here and share with us. Icelandicglacial.com. So obviously, you can go out and find it in your local Whole Foods or Sprouts or wherever you shop. Do some research on hydration, pH, water structure. Do some research on those things and find out if a natural water like Icelandic Glacial would be right for you, and just try it. Next time you see it, pick up a bottle and try it. So, Yann, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, and very much wish good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me on your show, and have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Strategic Growth Experts podcast. Subscribe, find us on Facebook and Twitter, and check out the website at strategicgrowthexperts.com.